All right. It is a new year and we are back. Welcome. Let's get into it. I'm Samantha Harms with the Garrison Public Affairs Office.
And I'm Corporal Kyra Pearl with the 3rd Armored Corps Public Affairs Office.
And I am yet another co-host, Specialist Garrett Dacko with 11th Signal Brigade.
And I'm Janice Wright with the Garrison Public Affairs Office, and you are listening to the Great Big Podcast.
All right, everybody. New year, new me, or new us, as they like to say. Welcome aboard. Welcome back for those that were on vacation. With us today, we have somebody very special, the Fort Hood Garrison Commander, Colonel Chad Foster. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for that introduction. As misguided and inappropriate as it may be, there's nothing special about me, but there's a lot special about this place, and so I'm happy to be here with you today.
Come on, you're a little special, sir. Come on.
Well, probably.
You do a great job.
Well, thanks. I don't hear that very often. But I'll take whatever I can get.
Well, I'll hype you up this entire podcast, so don't worry.
Well, thanks.
Everybody needs a hype man.
Especially me.
Yes. So we brought you in today. We kind of, with the new year, we kind of want to talk a little bit about, what's coming up in this new year. But before we do that, I'm actually interested in looking back a little bit and kind of talking to you, kind of like a year-end review almost about Fort Hood.
We could probably sit here for a few hours and talk about, all of the fantastic things that have transpired at our installation over the past year, 2022, everything from, re-energizing a lot of our community connections that, because of, the pandemic and some other circumstances, primarily the pandemic, we'd had to put those on hold. It was necessary to kind of put those on hold a little bit or at least to scale them down. Right. And we kind of started coming out of that at the beginning of last year, but we still had to scale down some of the events. But by the end of the year, especially we really kind of were back at I won't say we were back at a sprint, but we were certainly back at a brisk trot, if you will. And I'm very, very thankful for that because that was a very important thing, I know, for me, and I think it was important for the community too, that we get those things back in gear. Right.
And as the Garrison Commander, what was one of your favorite events of 2022?
Man, you're putting me on the spot. It's like asking you who's your favorite kid, right?
That's an easy answer for you, though.
Well, yeah, I can only have one. So maybe it is easy. No, but I think that no event captures who we are as a community better than the holiday tree lighting. And I know that maybe there's some recency bias because that wasn't too long ago that happened. But I tell you, seeing everybody gathered together, having that event, the light goes up. I'm sitting there sweating it out a little bit, making sure, hoping that the light actually does come on when they pull the switch.
Important.
But overall, just seeing everybody gather together to enjoy that. The kids coming in, going lining up to get their picture taken with Santa. Nothing's really better than that. I mean, I remember seeing that event happen as a young officer here during my previous assignments. Not that young, wasn't that long ago, I guess. But it's just a great event. That one really has a special place for me personally.
All right.
I think that goes off of, too, we had so many concerts here over this past year, which we haven't really done in the past because of pandemic and, had to close things down. But getting all those people out, doing all of the concerts that we've done, seeing everybody out there, hanging out together, having a great time. I think for me, that was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I would agree. The Come Together concert, we had the British Rock and Roll Tribute Band. I'm not really sure you can compare to that one because that was my favorite of the year simply because I'm a big rock and roll fan myself. And, British rock and roll specifically is pretty important to me and has always been, growing up. So getting to see them, hearing, bands from my youth, hopefully people still out there still remember some of these folks.
We do.
But, yeah, I thought that particular show was great, and we were able to have it coincide with the Queen's Jubilee, which unfortunately, we lost, Queen Elizabeth later in the year. But I thought that was a pretty great thing to have. We had the British, our British exchange officers who are present across Fort Hood. I think they and their families certainly enjoyed that. But we outnumbered them by quite a bit out there. So I know all of our residents, here, our Americans, certainly enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I love being able to see Flow Rider. My friends and
yes.
I really, really enjoyed ourselves. We really did.
That brought back some memories too, because I remember back, and I guess it was, oh man, when we came back from the first deployment to Iraq and the way that Central Texas welcomed us home. If I remember correctly, we had Ludacris was out there.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah, that was a
one.
big. And Jessica Simpson came, and then
Oh my
and then
goodness.
the big deal for me out there at the time. This is back when 4th Infantry Division was here.
Oh, okay.
The 4th Infantry Division headquarters was over there on the eastern side of the installation, right there on the lawn. We also had Leonard Skinnard came as well.
Wow.
So that was a big event, a huge event. We had WWE celebrities were part of it.
Bringing everybody out.
I mean, how can you compare to that? I'd say maybe some other installations have great events and a great community, but nobody has the greatest other than us.
I would agree with
That
that.
is true. Dang, I missed The Rock. Did he show up?
No, the Rock was not present, as I recall. I think I'm trying to. Triple H was.
Oh, not
I believe it was Triple H.
What about
We'll
the
get The
Hardy?
Rock this year.
Shawn Michaels,
Shawn
if you remember
Michaels,
him, he was
yeah.
out there. But it was a really cool event. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. So something that we are actually currently still working on to this day is last year we had a record-setting wildfire here on Fort Hood. Do you want to speak a little bit about that and the way that it kind of affected us as a community?
Well, we already talked about community support,
Right.
and the bond we have with Central Texas community. We don't talk about Fort Hood and the Central Texas community. We talk about the Central Texas community, of which Fort Hood is a part.
Right.
And we would not have survived that wildfire without the support of Central Texas. We lost about 25%, temporarily, of course, of our range capability for live fire training because of damage resulting from that fire. And when the fire was going on, I saw our professionals, our firefighters here on Fort Hood, our emergency response personnel coming together to coordinate the assets that were coming from places like Coppers Cove, Gatesville, Harker Heights, Killeen, and then other communities farther out from the state of Texas, and even some federal assets as well. So really that was a case study in the way that partnerships are supposed to work. Mm-hmm. It was a case study in coordination, cooperation, and we couldn't have done it without the great support we get from the community. And that's why when we do things like immediate response and mutual aid with the communities ourselves, when we send our responders out to help them, well, we're kind of paying it forward because we know that at some point in the future that we're going to ask for something in return, and that certainly was the case earlier this year with that fire.
All right.
It seems like the theme here is the amazing community that we have here
Yes.
in the Central Texas area. So far of all the things that we've talked about.
Absolutely. And complex problems require community solutions. As I've said that in multiple forms. I think I'd like to take credit for that being an original statement. I don't think it is. I probably stole it from somewhere. But whoever it came from, it's absolutely accurate. And one thing that I would highlight is, probably everyone listening to this podcast knows that over the last year, previous year, we've had a lot of challenges with the housing market. And that's not just here in Texas, that's nationwide.
Right.
And specifically here in Texas, how that manifested itself was, at one point we had a very, very small, we're talking double digits, number of properties of all types available for sale or rent between Coppers Cove and Temple.
Yeah.
And that right there poses a big problem when you think we have anywhere from, 100 to 200 families and individual soldiers arriving here to Fort Hood on a weekly basis. Yeah. So when faced with that, you also consider that only about 25% of our military families actually live on Fort Hood. The rest live outside the gates and in these great towns that surround us. So when I looked at our waiting list for housing, for on-post housing, I saw that number reaching up into the mid-thousands. And you consider that the cost for rentals and for purchasing residential property, single-family homes, apartments, whatever, it really had gone through the roof and was far outpacing our basic allowance for housing. So when I saw that, I actually got frustrated talking to the team, like, what can we do about this? And we realized we couldn't wait for the yearly reassessment of basic allowance for housing rates. Although we certainly did put in a request for off-cycle consideration and a few other things. We did everything we could with the big Army, but Big Army's got a big picture worldwide, really, to maintain.
Right.
So we couldn't wait on someone else to ride to the rescue for us. So what I did is I went out hat in hand and started talking with chambers of commerce, civic leaders, other organizations outside the gates of Fort Hood in these towns around us. And I asked them, I said, hey, I need something from you. I need some help. I need some help with some temporary lodging for our military families, because the huge financial burden that they were really carrying. After about 10 days, your temporary allowance for your PCS move, it runs out. Mm-hmm. And what we were seeing was families were waiting 40, 60, sometimes even 90 days or more for housing to open up, not just on post, but off post as well. So I asked the community, I said, here's what I need from you. I need some housing set aside, quality housing, safe housing, multiple bedrooms, single-family homes, apartments, townhouses, whatever, set aside specifically for military families to rent on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis at their BAH rate. It's a big thing to ask.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the response I was going to get. Right. I asked for that in a couple of different forums. I attended a housing summit out in Temple. I hosted a housing summit here on Fort Hood, where we invited in property managers, developers, and people from the chambers and various other people from the community. And I didn't know how it was going to go, to be quite honest, but I knew it was something we really needed. And I tell you, we got an incredible response. And this is one of the things about 2022 we need to celebrate. The community showed up, and we ended up with about 100 individual property units being set aside as part of we call it the Military Value Program now. And this is something that if you want a name, you want somebody to thank for this, I would offer you the name of Mr. Otis Rockmore, works over in Director of Public Works Housing Office, and he was really instrumental in helping us put this together. So I went out and made the pitch, and then Otis made it work, along with the help of many, many other individuals. He wasn't the only one, but he was the one that really kind of stood out for me. And that program is something that now we still have it in place today, and it will remain in place for as long as we need it, which I think might be a ways into the future.
Yeah.
And what that has done, that has allowed literally hundreds of families to go in and save money to avoid that big financial crunch of having to pay sometimes 2 or 3 times what their BAH rate is just for a hotel room in some cases, just so they can have a place to stay. And I would also like to mention the various independent school districts in the area too, specifically KISD, Killeen Independent School District, but all the other ones as well, Coppers Cove and others who have really been understanding. And their role in this was, if a family was waiting on a house to open up and say within the Killeen Independent School District area, let's just say there, and they were needing their kid to go to a specific elementary school, ultimately because that's where they're going to end up, in a house there. That's where they'll be zoned for. But they were temporarily staying, sometimes for a matter of months, in another location outside of that. The school districts really worked with us to allow those families to send their kids right away to the correct school, because they knew that's where they were going to end up. And, I say this a lot in different forums, sometimes when I'm here, sometimes when I'm elsewhere, and no place is like the Central Texas community when it comes to supporting our military. Nobody. Mm-hmm. There might be other locations that are good too and maybe close, but nobody's better, because Central Texas delivers. And we need to remember that on Fort Hood, because we need to deliver for the community as well, which we deliver in a lot of different ways, but that example I just kind of expressed to you and described, I'm not really sure you're going to find that kind of support at other locations, and that's something we should all be thankful for.
It's definitely a unique dynamic, a unique relationship, and very valuable. Very.
Yeah,
well, it helps when like 1 every 3 residents of Bell and Coryell County are connected to the military, specifically to Fort Hood in one way, shape, or form, whether it be active duty, family member, Department of the Army civilian, lots of retirees, of course. Mm-hmm. Our retiree community here is absolutely incredible, and I could tell you some more stories about some of the things that our local veterans organizations have done for us too, regarding some unique initiatives that we're working right now that are going to come to fruition in the next few weeks here in the spring of 23. We've been working on for about 8 to 12 months on that's going to help with bringing those veterans, those retirees who have no ulterior motive except to help soldiers in to help us combat things like soldier suicide. We're going to have some really big initiatives kind of rolling out with the help of those veterans organizations and other community organizations as well. And again, you don't find this everywhere. And so I know I'm personally very thankful to be here and be a part of this community. And I think all of us around the table and really everyone out there in uniform is listening. I hope you're as grateful as I am.
Well, I know I'm grateful because every time I step foot off base, I feel like I meet a new veteran or a new, someone that did serve or was stationed at Fort Hood even. And, just living in the area now because they love it. Yeah. They love the Central Texas community so much that they're like, I can't leave anymore. So
yeah, who I don't know. I don't know why you would want to leave at any point, but I mean, going down to Guitar Center, buy myself a new guitar, and I'm wearing my KISS T-shirt, and someone just out of the blue say, hey, you're military, right? Hey, I'm applying your discount. I'm like, wow, okay. Didn't even ask, and I try not to ask because I think that we get so much support anyway. But wow, this community is something special.
Mm-hmm. Is that one of the Christmas gifts to yourself?
Yeah, that was one of the Christmas gifts. I thought I was good enough this year to merit that. Hopefully my wife's not listening because she might disagree.
Well, speaking of Christmas, sir, do you have a favorite Christmas movie that you watched?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little unconventional, but I'll say Die Hard. Die Hard is,
I'll take it.
Some people disagree. Some people say that Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, and I say, well, then you're not paying attention.
Exactly.
It's not really Christmas until you see Hans Gruber fall off the top floor of Nakatomi Plaza. At the end there. I don't think it's really Christmas until that happens.
Right. I did actually see Bruce Willis say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, but I think he misspoke and didn't follow that up with Die Hard is the Christmas movie.
Well, depending on what he meant by that, I mean, I always like to remind people, hey, it's okay to be wrong.
Right.
Okay?
Right. He's just an actor.
There are people who believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and then there are people who are wrong.
Yes.
So you can decide for yourself which category he falls into.
Right. Exactly. So now looking forward into the year of 2023, I am to understand that you only have 5 months left as of today as the Garrison commander.
Yeah, that's true. So that sound you heard was probably a large amount of cheering, perhaps, coming from across the installation.
We're in tears.
No. Yeah, I don't have much time left. Although when you're in these positions, 5 months, maybe it seems like a long time, but when you're really enjoying yourself, which I clearly am, it seems like it goes, just at the snap of a finger. And I have been so fortunate to have this opportunity. Definitely not something I ever thought I was going to do. They do not train folks like myself to do this kind of job. It's kind of they say, hey, you're going to be a Garrison commander. Good luck. And that's the extent of it, right?
So basically on the job training.
Putting it mildly, yes. And my learning curve is vertical on a daily basis. I learn something new every day. I mean, today, I could probably list for you about 7 or 8 different things that I learned just today. And I'm, well over halfway through my time in command. So, absolutely, it's been an honor to do this. I've enjoyed it because my wife and I, who's also in the Army, we have gotten, and our family has been, the beneficiary of so many great things from Fort Hood and this community that we're just grateful to have an opportunity to give back in some way, shape, or form.
So what's next for you in the future?
Oh, there's always something out there. I always like to wait until I have orders in hand before I talk about any specifics. But I'm hopeful that I'll be able to continue to make a contribution to the Army in an effective way in the future. But probably when you start talking about things that are in store, I mean, the biggest thing coming up this year, is certainly going to be the renaming of our great installation. And this is something that I think we've all been discussing and talking about on some level for really well over a year, because the naming commission, the congressionally appointed naming commission, arrived here to Fort Hood for their visit or to our installation really about maybe just a couple of weeks after I took command initially. So that was a great way to kick it off. But the best thing about that visit was they engaged with the community, the folks outside the gate. who are going to be here, and have been here for a long time and have a vested interest in our future. And that engagement was so positive, and it resulted, over time, it resulted in the recommendation that went to the Secretary of Defense and was subsequently accepted to change the name of our installation to Fort Cavazos. And if anybody out there doesn't know the story of Richard Cavazos, you need to look him up, and because truly an impressive individual with links to this installation, to Central Texas, to the state of Texas. He's a native Texan himself, went to Texas Tech University, decorated war hero in 2 conflicts, the Korean and Vietnam War, former commanding general of the 3rd Armored Corps right here at Fort Hood in the early 80s, 80, 81, I believe, was the years. In fact, the building we're sitting in right now, I'm pretty sure was dedicated on his watch, if I'm not mistaken. His picture's upstairs, in the hall up there with all of the past commanding generals. And that community connection, that local connection, that legacy of service, impressive legacy of service.
Yeah.
Man, wow, I don't think we could have picked a better one. We really couldn't have. And so we should all be thankful for that too.
Yeah.
But I always circle back to this, is that no matter how you feel about that particular change, what's not going to change about all of us, and that's the people around this table, the legacy of service and sacrifice of those listening out there who have served here in the past and will serve here in the future. That's going to remain the same. That is what defines us as a installation, as a community. So, I mean, I guess you could have theoretically called us Fort Scooby-Doo if you wanted to. And
See, I'm here for that.
This would still be the great place. But luckily, we've got a name. We're going to get a name after General Richard Cavazos that's going to be incredibly fitting for what our mission here is and what the legacy and history of this installation is.
Absolutely.
They could change the name, but they can't change the people who served.
Absolutely. You just said it
That was
more
great.
eloquently in one sentence than I tried to do, and I think about 5 minutes of trying to explain it right there.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't want to take your job.
Oh.
Really
We've got a
don't.
candidate over here.
Oh, thank you. I learned enough every
But
day
my replacement will be coming in here pretty soon. She's a great officer, Girl Lakeisha Stokes. She has a history and a lot of experience here at Fort Hood as well. And she's going to be just an incredible asset for our installation and our community. So I'm looking forward to getting her on the ground here, getting her out to meet all of our community leaders, getting her out into the community and getting her integrated into not just the Central Texas community, but also specifically within the gates to our great team of professionals here within U.S. Army Garrison.
Well, while we're on the subject of future events, what are you most looking forward to happening in 2023?
Wow, you got me on that one. There's so many things to look forward to, right? I really think, and this is going to sound like a cop-out because I'm going to piggyback on what I just said, but I really am looking forward to getting, at least started and getting us through this process of becoming, Fort Cavazos. I think that is going to be something that we're all going to look back on and about how special it is. But I will add something else to that, too. Everybody knows that over the last year and a half or so, Fort Hood Family Housing, our privatized housing partners, have invested a lot of money. In fact, about $500 million in improvements for our housing inventory here on our installation. And one of probably the biggest piece of that in terms of impact is going to be the construction of new homes for our junior enlisted soldiers out there in the Chaffee Village area. That's going to be something that's going to be coming up soon. And I'm looking forward to hopefully, depending on what the construction timelines end up being, because, it's tough right now with supply chain, and all of the competing things going on, but they've been working their tails off out there. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully moving some new families into those brand new single family homes. You're talking, I think it's about 1,500 square feet per home. Pretty good. True 2-car garages, energy efficient, high quality. Really, really looking forward to getting some families, our junior enlisted soldiers, into those. I think it's going to really be important to improve the quality of life, and hopefully an ever improving quality of life here at the great place. So that's something I'm really looking forward to as well.
Sounds awesome. I can't wait to see those homes.
Yeah,
I wish
me
I could
too.
move into one.
I know, right? I'm like,
We'll
wow,
see.
the
Maybe
way
if
he
I
describes it.
I know.
Well, it's also, I mean, not to take away from that, but in addition to the new builds, I mean, something that's been going on now for over a year have been, and this is a continuous process, are the renovations.
Mm-hmm.
So at any one time, we may have around 70 homes offline from Fort Hood Family Housing, and the reason they're offline is so that they can do full renovation, interior and exterior renovations, and it's a magnificent transformation. With new countertops, appliances, new fixtures. I mean, it looks like a completely different home.
Right.
And so that process is really important too, because it allows us to bring our inventory to a higher level of quality, to modernize, which is something that I know every military family wants. Mm-hmm. Some of our homes were built in, our oldest were built in 1948. It's a relatively small number, but it's quite a significant age. And the rest, are 1970s vintage and earlier. So certainly there are things that a family in 2022 wants that maybe in a family in the 1970s, had a different view on.
Right.
But those renovations and that hard work by the housing partners here is going a long way to closing that gap and making the homes here better, even higher quality, and more along the lines of what these young soldiers and military families want and deserve.
Yeah, I doubt that, today's or 75 years ago can't compete with today's technology. So
yeah,
it's about time to upgrade.
And I'm sure those young any family would be more than grateful to move into a house that is going through those renovations, or any of the newly built ones. Hopefully we can see that happening sometime soon this year.
Well, I was going to say something that you had mentioned too was we are currently working on the 100th barrack, of course.
Yes.
So we got to talk about that, because you were just saying, I'd love to move into one of those homes.
So,
you have.
I know. And it's something I have to wait on. I know that. But just with the homes, there are barracks renovations going on as well.
Oh, barracks renovation is an ongoing process. And this is something that Command Sergeant Major Hall, the Garrison Command Sergeant Major, I asked him to do last year, and I believe it was in October. What I asked him to do was go out there to the BOSS program, the Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers program, and get some of those young soldiers, as many of them as we could get, and bring them out to give them an orientation to what the plan is for barracks renovation. Show them what we've done. In the last 10 years, we've renovated, it's between, I forget the number now off the top of my head, but it's close to 70 barracks. We've renovated and completely renovated. It's a 2-year process per barracks. So that amount of progress, getting those things up to a what we call it a Q1, quality 1 level rating, which is the best you can have. That's been really important, and there's been a lot of work done over the last say decade plus to get us there and to get us moving in the right direction. But right now we have barracks undergoing renovation currently, and the idea is that we do the same thing. Kind of like what I just said about the housing, the same thing applies to barracks. We renovate those things. We put new appliances in. We put new fixtures in to really hopefully increase the privacy, space per soldier, and the quality, because soldier quality of life is incredibly important. So big progress there. Like we're in the middle of building barracks number 100.
Woohoo!
And we've got 2 more.
Yeah,
kind of coming right behind that in the near future. And that's going to help us expand the space per soldier, the quality of life per soldier, and that is something that's incredibly important. Every time we have a senior leader visit our installation, there are a few priorities that they hear from me over and over again. In fact, many of them who have visited Fort Hood, our installation several times, what they remember is we talk about barracks, housing, motor pools, and a few things like that we really want to emphasize. And so they've heard that from me over and over again, the importance of it. And luckily, the Army has been responsive and getting us the help we need. But we got a lot more work to do. So we're not done yet. We're not resting on any kind of laurels, because we certainly have more work to do. We still have Q4 barracks, quality level 4 barracks, which we need to renovate, and we're in the process of doing those. And so that work's never going to stop. It doesn't matter. You come back here 10 years from now, and you're gonna hear whoever's sitting in this chair saying some of the same things, because renovation is a constant process. As things get older, you need to renovate them and improve them. And we have a high-quality plan to do that, but it takes time and it takes effort. And that effort, getting those single soldiers out there was really important because most of the soldiers, I mean, they're caught up in what they got to do on a daily basis. They're on the motor pool. They're out on the rifle range. They're out shooting gunnery. They're training in the field. They're doing the things that soldiers do and what we need them to do for our national defense. And they're not always kept in the loop on some of these big picture things that, although they may not think about it on a daily basis, it certainly impacts their lives and their quality of life. And so getting them in there, having Command Sergeant Major Hall do that, along with our Director of Public Works, and then also getting our civilian aides to the Secretary of the Army that we have in this area, our CASAs as we call them, off base in here to see that as well. Incredibly important process, and we're going to keep doing that so that everyone here understands the why behind what we're doing.
Well, it sounds like 2023 is going to be a busy year. Got a lot going on here.
A lot going on. 2023 is going to be probably busier than 2022.
I don't know how that's
busy
possible.
is good, though.
Yeah.
I think busy is good.
Yeah.
Busy is good as long as you're making progress, and I think that we're going to be able to say that very easily about 2023.
Absolutely.
So clearly, you've made a substantial impact on Garrison while you've been here. What do you want your legacy to be after?
Well, I don't know if I've personally made all that much of a difference. I'm being truthful here. We have an incredible team within U.S. Army Garrison, and it is their teachers. By that I mean they teach me and they teach others about how to do things the right way. They're examples. They're leaders. They're professionals. They're experts. I mean, they're the ones that make the difference. I mean, it truly is. I mean, you could put a ventriloquist dummy in my seat probably, and that dummy would have a lot of success simply because of the quality of people we have here. But if you're asking me about what impact I would hope and I would like to make is, my signature block on all my emails and on the back of my business card, and I say this a lot to the team, is invest in people, invest in people, invest in people. Sometimes one of the things as a leader I've seen over the years is you'll get some, officers, senior NCOs or whoever, and they'll say, hey, I'm a systems person. And certainly we need effective systems. I'm not saying that we don't. We got to have effective systems, especially the bigger your organization, the more effective and efficient your systems need to be. However, systems are only as good as the people that run them. And if you're given the choice between investing in the establishment of a system, intricate, involved, complex, however you want to say it, and investing in a person, you should invest in the person. Because the person is the one that's going to the individual is going to be the one that makes a decision and is going to make something happen, even if the process or the system itself is failing at any one point. There was a great statistician, his name was E.B. Box, and he made a statement one time which has kind of stayed with me over the years, and that is that all models are wrong. When you're modeling something, you're kind of thinking about how to predict or how to track something. So all models are wrong because he's a mathematician. But some models are useful. And by that, you mean that, hey, your system's going to fail at some point. It's going to fail because there's going to be a circumstance that's going to come up that particular system or process wasn't designed to handle. And it's not capable of recognizing that the intended outcome is not being achieved. That's why we have leaders in the system. That's why we have people in the system. So you invest in those people, train them, educate them, empower them to make good decisions, to recognize when they need to do something differently to achieve the intended outcome, to take care of soldiers, to take care of our families, to take care of our Department of Army civilians, and to accomplish our mission. Invest in those folks. And I hope that that's something that stays here after I'm gone. And it was here before I arrived, so I don't know if that's really a legacy or not. So it's really not something I brought with me, but it's something I've tried to build upon. And we have our own civilian leader development program within the Garrison, and one of the things I really try to energize within that is increasing the responsiveness of that program to meet the desires of our workforce. Yeah. And we have a capstone project that's a part of the last phase of that program, to where we hand them a particularly challenging problem or situation or issue, whatever it might be, for the installation, and we ask that group of people as part of their capstone project to come up with solutions for it. And by that way we increase the collaboration. We harness all of the talents and ideas of our team, and instead of just keeping it to a small number. And it also builds an awareness and really some increased transparency for how things work at the Great Place.
Well, I might just be speaking for myself, but sir, you empower me and you motivate me. So long after you're out of this position, I will still be thinking of this conversation. Trust me on that.
Well, thank you, and you remember that as you go on to your future leadership positions as well. It's something that's always going to stay with me. I've been lucky over the years having good, for the most part, having really good leaders that have let me mess up, try things out, and I have messed up a lot. I am a product of second chances, both personally and professionally, and you got to make space for people to innovate. You got to make space for people to make mistakes and learn from them, well-intentioned mistakes. Doing things for the right reason. You're trying your best, honest mistakes, not mistakes of negligence or mistakes of moral character, but certainly when someone's giving it their best and they come up a little bit short, that's a learning opportunity. That's not a failure. And that's the way we should all look at it. And I hope that everyone out there remembers that in whatever walk of life you're involved in, because you would appreciate it if you were on the receiving end of that. So make sure you're delivering it to those you're responsible for.
That reminds me of something that I picked up in my previous professional job. We were talking about making sure that people are not afraid to fail, that they're not punished for, trying to do the best they can, even if they fall short. So I think that's really important. It's okay to fail. There's not such a stigma, a negative stigma attached to it.
Yeah, zero defects is a really bad thing. And if you're afraid that there's going to be someone's going to beat you down every time you come up a little bit short on something, you are far less likely to try anything new, which is going to hamper your organizational ability to adapt and your organizational ability to innovate. And we all know that as things change in the world and our operational environment, the environment within which all of our organizations exist, will never stay the same. So you either get busy changing or you get busy going in a different direction. I was going to use the word dying, but I'll refrain from that. But you get busy changing, you get busy adapting, you get busy innovating, or you get busy falling apart. And so you're absolutely correct.
Well, sir, we want to thank you for coming on today. Everything you've said has been, I'm definitely going to walk away a little better today.
Yeah, definitely something for everyone to bring with them into this new year.
Completely agree. So as we say, Happy New Year. Is there anything else you want to just leave us with?
Now, hey, everybody out there, remember, you are what makes the Great Place great. So please continue to be who you are. Look after each other, contribute to the team, and enjoy yourselves, because 2023 it's going to be great. It's going to be great because of you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Save money and get special military discounted tickets to your favorite attractions like Six Flags, Schlitterbahn, SeaWorld, Disney World, and more. Stop by our Leisure Travel Services office located right here on post to get those tickets. For more information, go to our website at hood.armymwr.com. Have fun!
Okay, so just had an amazing interview. We have someone with us, though.
Hi, I'm here now. This is Corporal Kyra Pearl with the 3rd Armored Corps Public Affairs Office.
Yes. We love it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Daco obviously stepped out. He was in this interview with us. He did a great job.
I kicked him out.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so I think the first thing we have to comment on is we actually have another voice here with us that's new. So, Janice, would you like to introduce yourself a little?
Absolutely. I am Janice Wright, and I am new to the Great Big Podcast, but I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So you just started with us. Oh my gosh, it seems like you've been here forever now.
I do. I feel like I've been here forever.
Yes.
Sadly, it's only been about 90 days.
That's crazy.
Well, new year, new voices on the podcast.
That's right.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay, so of course, New Year. So we got to talk about New Year's resolutions or intentions, because I know resolutions don't necessarily resonate with everybody.
I was about to say resolution feels very concrete. I feel like I'm demotivating myself whenever I don't meet it.
Yeah,
Yes.
resolution is very aggressive.
Yes.
Very aggressive. I'm just gonna go with improvement.
Ooh, I like it.
Putting
Okay.
my best foot forward, shall we?
All right. So, what are your improvements or intentions that you guys are
So-
trying to accomplish?
I actually have one resolution because
Ooh.
I'm very determined
Ooh,
with this.
I like it. Okay.
I want to start reading again this year. I have a book number of 6. Feels very, very doable. Hopefully.
You got this. You got this.
But that's the only concrete resolution I've made. Improvements. I want to do better with working out and how often I do it and how intense I am with it.
I love that. That's great. Janice, what about you?
Well, I'm that type of person that doesn't like to get overwhelmed. So I'm just going to start, with one. I'm just going to start with drinking more water. That is my goal.
That-
to start
Very
off the
healthy
year.
one?
Is a
Yes.
great goal. I love that. So I have a similar, I have 2 concrete things. That's it. I want to read, obviously more. I have a book column. So got to do my at least 12 books a year, ideally 24. So that's like my concrete, got to do it for my job. So there's that. Requirement, but also a fun requirement. And then my second one is, okay, in the past, and ironically, we are doing an episode on working out next week with you guys on PT. But my resolution for this year is to work out twice a week,
Ooh.
every week. That's it. Very, very low bar for myself.
Very doable goal.
Very doable.
doable.
Very
Yes.
doable,
Twice
yes.
a week. I think I
got
can
this,
handle
you got
that,
this.
considering I haven't worked out at all.
We don't have to talk about that.
Nah.
And walking back and forth from our office down to the bathroom, that counts.
That is a workout.
Ooh, I love
Those
that.
steps count. I count all steps. All steps matter.
All steps matter. Oh boy. They do though. Yes, they do. I love that. Okay, well, how were you guys' New Year's? Did you do anything fun?
New Year's. Well, I am a new mom to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband works night shift, so I was alone with my kids all night. Like the boring parent I am.
Oh, that's not boring. You got to bring in the new year with your baby.
Yes, that's how I was framing it as well. But it did feel a little sad not to have him home.
Yeah, that's okay.
We video called at midnight.
There you go. That counts. It counts.
How was yours?
It was awesome. My friends and I actually went to brunch earlier in the day so that we could set aside the evening to spend with our families. And my sons are grown, so I was really fortunate that they wanted to spend New Year's with their old mom. So
Aww.
we got to be together on New Year's, it doesn't happen very often. So I was thankful for that.
That's really sweet. I love that for you.
While we listened to, I don't know what going off, firecrackers, loud bangs. Yeah. And that was at 10 p.m.
A little early.
Yeah, a little early.
I like the videos that you see on social media of parents with the countdown happening, and then they pan to their watch and it's 9:30 and their kids are counting down already, and they're I can't wait to go to bed.
I was actually I saw a TikTok or are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, that's fun.
I saw a video actually about that. It was a little tip for how to celebrate New Year's with your
Yes.
toddler without messing up their sleeping schedule. Because I don't know, if you're not a new parent, maybe you don't know this, but sleeping schedules are very important, both for your sanity and your child's sanity.
Yes. Yeah, I love those videos. They're so funny.
It's always funny how every time in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to just turn up every New Year's. And, it's going to be champagne. Yeah, I went to bed at 10:30.
I love that.
I was totally content because remember, I had partied earlier in the day.
True,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was tuckered out.
You're ready to go.
When you get to be my age, if you don't take a nap, there's no hanging out at night.
That's hilarious. Well, I actually stayed out. I went out to a party, danced the night away, had a great time.
Did you have a sparkly ensemble?
I actually didn't. But I did go. It was a formal. So it was kind of a red carpet,
Ooh.
fancy. I kind of felt like I was at prom again.
Oh, wow.
It was really fun though. I had a great time.
I'm glad you had fun. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
My friends did that, but yeah, I didn't. I didn't join this time.
And then I don't know if anyone else went on any holiday breaks, but this is my first week back at work.
Yes.
So I got to go home to Arizona, and my family got to meet my daughter. It's very exciting. I hope
love
everyone had an
that.
amazing Christmas and Hanukkah and all that.
Yeah, all the holidays.
So you went home actually before that winter storm hit.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I got email notifications about it, unfortunately, but I did not have to live through it. I hope
Lucky
it was okay.
you. Lucky you. I'm confused with the weather. It wants to freeze us out and then it wants to warm us up. It's like,
I know. Texas.
which one? Pick a side.
I hope it
Yeah.
wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I left that the morning that it was supposed to show up. Yeah, I flew out that day, so lucky me, I got out of here on time too.
Yeah. Well, Southwest, they really got bogged down. They canceled, thousands of flights, and now they're, facing, all kind of trouble over that. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys were able to get out before and not have to deal with that at all.
Yeah, we drove, so I had a 14-hour car ride with
nice.
2 babies.
Oh, you drove. That's brave.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, yeah. It was very intense. I'll say that for sure.
Let's just leave it at that.
Oh, my parenting tip. I've only done this drive 4 times now, but driving through the night is so much easier because the kids are asleep almost the whole time.
Yes, yes.
Driving during the day, the first time we ever drove with my son, that was the worst trip that I've ever done. So
Lessons learned, I see.
exactly.
Yes.
I feel experienced.
Look at you.
Yes. Definitely, I will have a warm and cold emergency kit in my car.
Yes.
Because with Texas, you never know.
Yeah.
You
really
never know.
don't.
We made sure we had an emergency kit just in case, but thankfully we didn't need it. But no, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love hearing about your guys' holidays and New Year's resolutions / not resolutions.
Improvement.
Yes. So we're obviously coming to the end of this week's episode, but I want to say that we are looking forward to 2023 here in the Garrison's office and 3rd Armored Corps and this podcast. And
It's going to be an exciting year.
yeah, I'm looking to see where it takes us. So I think that's really all we got.
I'm looking forward to all those concerts that I missed.
Ooh, yes.
Looking forward to the summer.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is a U.S. Army Garrison Fort Hood and Fort Hood Public Affairs production. The Great Big Podcast is produced by me, Dave Larson, hosted by Samantha Farlow, Sergeant Lamont Shavers, and Corporal Brianna Dew. The show's theme music is written and produced by Delicious All-Stars. All our music is obtained through Filter by Songtrader. Have a question or want to share some insights with us? Email us at forthoodpao@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at USAG Fort Hood. And as always, be sure to leave a review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.